Good morning, everyone. I'm Frestiani Radiansi Tarsmi with student number 1120111333170. And in this opportunity, I will present to you the past theory, which is the short for planning, attention, simultaneous, and successive. It is one of the theories of intelligence. And yeah, let's get started. So, the notion of the past theory is that the neuropsychological mechanism works in separate but interrelated system called the three functional units that conduct for psychological processes. It is first proposed by Das, Kirby, and Jarman in 1975 and later elaborated by Das, Laglieri, and Kirby in 1994. It is taking a multidimensional approach to the definition of ability. So, what makes this theory different from other theories? This approach to multidimensional aspects of the intelligence. So, we know that a lot of, in general, intelligence theory is more general, like IQs and the G factor. It is like it is focusing on a general ability of the brain and the mind of our intelligence, while this theory is more multidimensional, in which it focus on cognitive processes. So it is more specific in nature, because it's not talking in general but specifically in the cognitive processes that we will discuss later on. And this difference is advantageous because it can be used to analyze specific conditions such as ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, reading disabilities, and so on. So, why is the reason that this theory can be used to analyze specific conditions? It is mainly because since it's exploring and focusing more on processes rather than the general ability, that's why we can discover a lot more through this method on specific cases like disabilities. So we will discuss later on that the intelligence is made up of a lot of processes, which in this theory is there are four of them, and we can how we analyze the disabilities is that we see how strong their ability in specific processes that are related to the disability. So if it's weak, then it means that they have this disability, or they we can also discover the level of the disability that they have. So that's why it can be used to analyze specific conditions, because it focus on processes, cognitive processes, rather than the general ability of intelligence. So, for example, with the case of ADHD, which is the attention deficit and hyperactive disorder, it is proposed that uh, a planning deficit. Planning is one of the processes in this theory. So, if you remember, there are four processes in the name of the theory, which is planning, attention, simultaneous, and successive. So planning is one of the process. And in the case of ADHD, there is a planning deficit in the patients of the ADHD. And also, of course, there is an attention deficit and so on. So through exploring and analyzing this specific process, we can see that, oh, this person has ADHD because they have a deficit in the planning process and so on. And so this theory is based on A.R. Luria's studies on the functional aspects of brain structures as the important components of human intelligence. So the study is conducted in 1966, 1973, and 1980. So basically, Luria proposed that our brain is our neuropsychological mechanism uh, works separately. So there are separate systems, but those systems are interrelated. So she named this system three functional units, and these three functional units conducts four processes. And we will discuss these three functional units and the four processes later on. And so uh, thus Kirby, Jarman, and Naglieri basically use this conceptualized idea of how the intelligence and the brain works to make the theory. So the three functional units and the four processes are used as important. They propose that those the three functional units and four processes are an important components of the human intelligence. So human intelligence have components that are the three functional units with their four processes. So yeah. Also, this theory is operationalized with cognitive assessment system that is proposed by Das and Naglieri. It is shortened as CAS. Oh, wait a sec. So CAS is basically like the tasks that are based on this theory. So how we analyze human intelligence is using this theory is through this CAS. And this is one of the example of the analysis using CAS. And yeah, next we're going to talk about the psychological processes. So there are four of them, if you remember, which is according to the the name. There is planning, attention, and then simultaneous processing and successive processing. So the first process is attention. So attention is conducted by the first functional unit, and it is located primarily in the brainstem, specifically in the diencephalon and the medial regions of the cortex. And this process provides the brain with the appropriate level of arousal or cortical tone, as well as directive and selective attention. So basically in everyday life, we encounters a lot of multi-dimensional stimuli, right? For example, you see me no, you hear me explaining this presentation. So there are the stimuli of my voice, and there is a visual that is auditory, and then there's a visual stimuli of this PowerPoint presentation. So it is multi-dimensional, right? And there is a lot of them in our life. So you might not only see and hear me presenting this topic, but also, for example, your brother is crying in the other room and so on. So how we decide this first functional unit is the one that works in this the attention. So which multi-dimensional stimuli we want to focus on, and also we need to pay attention on the arousal here. So arousal is the energy needed for us to pay attention. And then we will skip first to the second functional unit. So In the second functional unit, there is a simultaneous process and successive process. So these are conducted by the second functional unit, and it is associated with the occipital, parietal, and temporal lobes posterior to the central sulcus of the brain. And it is responsible for receiving, processing, and retaining information the person obtains from the external world. So after we decided we have put our intention to one multidimensional stimuli, then the next part is we process it in the second functional unit. So we can process it through two ways. The first one is the simultaneous method, which involves integrating stimuli into groups so that the interrelationships among the components are understood. So, an example for this process is have you ever encountered a quiz which asks questions like A is the father of B, who is the friend of C, who is the cousins of B. So, this question we process it with simultaneous process because we connected the subjects of the questions, which is A and B and C and father, cousin, grandma, this to make to see the connections between each subjects to each other. So we are grouping them into with interrelated connections. And then there we can also use successive process. So it involves information that is linearly organized and integrated into a chain-like progression. So this is, for example, is like math equation. So in order to solve a math problem, we usually do step by step using different math equation, and it is done in a chain-like progression. And then the last functional unit, which is the third one, it is responsible for planning, the planning process. So it is associated with the prefrontal areas of the frontal lobes of the brain, and it provides for the programming, regulation, and verification of behavior, and is responsible for a lot of complex behavior. So this process and functional unit is responsible for a lot of complex human behavior, including personality and consciousness. So this is where we respond to all the stimuli and then the processing we've done in the previous stages, previous processes, and this is the part where we plan what to do with the result of those two processing, the product of it. And then more on the functional units. So first is that not every process is equally involved in every task. So actually, it is more effective if a task is using all four processes, but that doesn't mean that in their contribution needs to be equal. So in for example in reading we will focus up, or for example if we are in a class, then the attention part will be more contributing, or and so on. And then the next one is individuals can utilize processes in the second and third functional units only if they are sufficiently aroused and their attention is adequately focused. And so yeah, so we need a certain amount of arousal and attention in order to proceed into the next functional units. And then a small disturbance in an area can cause disorganization in the entire functional system, and that is because it is interrelated again. That's why if one process or unit is disturbed, then it could affect the other units or processing. And then the and processing. And then the relationship between the third and first functional units is particularly strong. So this is because attention is often under the conscious control of planning. So for example, if we plan to we want to have good grades, and then when we are in our class, because we plan on having a good grades, we will focus on the teacher rather than on our friends who are talking beside us. So yeah, that's why planning is influencing or controlling the attention process. And then the last one is that it is influenced by culture through social interactions. And then the last part, this is the diagram for the theory and how this works. So it is important to emphasize the importance of knowledge base, which is this gray part. The more gray, the biggest box here. So knowledge base is part of each of the processes. So all processes are involves knowledge base because past experience, learning, emotions, all of the knowledge we have in our brain provides the background as well as the sources for the information to be processed. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you for the time. And if you have any question, you can reach me in the forum. Thank you.